We're taking a look at this Tektronix Type K plug-in unit that was intended for the 500 series oscilloscopes. This particular example I have had in my collection since 1986. One interesting item to note is this asset tag on the front that says property of AEC, Sandia Corporation. So if you look at the back of this plug-in, there's also a Cal tag from 1969 from Sandia Corporation, and what that was Atomic Energy Commission, Sandia Corporation, which nowadays is known as the Sandia National Labs, which is the nuclear research facility. So one wonders what they were using this preamp for back in the 1960s, before it was declared surplus, and it ended up in the school system. And I got it from a tech school clearance sale when I was graduating as a student in 1986. So it's been around for a while. It's only a single channel preamp. There aren't a whole lot of things in here. We only have 4 tubes. We have an attenuator network associated with the switches, and on the bottom we have more attenuator network tweaking caps and a few biasing parts and some pots. Not much in here. The spec advertised on the front is what does it say here? 0.006 microseconds for rise time. And I do have the 1966 Tektronix catalog, which shows some of the specs for this device, and we're gonna cut to that here in a moment. So here are the pages in the 1965/1966 Tektronix equipment catalog, which shows this Type K preamplifier here. And let's zoom in on this. So this gives some of the specifications for this preamp. And with a list price of $145, which seems cheap these days, but 55 years of inflation, not so much. I'm not sure without researching it when the Type K was first introduced. I believe it was quite a bit earlier, and it would have been discontinued at some point. Again, a single channel preamplifier, of which I have an example. Okay, we're going to look at some of the functionality of this Tektronix Type K plug-in unit, preamplifier for Type 500 series oscilloscopes. Earlier we took a look at some of the specs and the internals of this preamp. So now I have this installed in my Type 531 oscilloscope, and we're going to take a look at a little bit of how it works. This is only a single channel preamp, so there aren't a whole lot of functions on it. So right now I don't have a signal injected. I have the calibrator waveform turned off. Preamp is set for the calibrated 0.5 volts per centimeter. DC coupling, vertical position is about centered, and we are about centered. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn on the calibrator waveform to, looks like 2 volts per division, and our scope is not triggering on that, but now it is. So if I move my vertical position down to where we can see something, Let's turn up the intensity a little bit to make this easier to see. So I'm at 2 volts per division, and the preamp is set for 1/2 volt per division. So we've got 4 divisions, or 2 volts peak to peak on the calibrator waveform. Alright, so this vertical deflection, vertical positioning knob allows you to move that around. And then we have a volts per centimeter control, or gain control. So if we change that, we can change the amplitude of our signal. And then we have this variable setting, and this particular preamp I think has got some issues, and I've only tried to adjust it so that it looks like the gain and so on is correct. But if you change it to variable, it kind of moves around, and I don't think that's what's supposed to happen. I think it's supposed to move amplitude relative to the 0 offset. And then the final setting we have here is AC versus DC coupling. So we are currently on DC. So if I move that to AC, there's a capacitor inserted, so the amplitude changes. So let's move it back to DC. That's AC. So instead of being centered around, or the 0 point being at the middle line, it's now centered at the center line, AC coupling. Alright. Amplifier works. It may not be working totally to spec, but it does work. And there you go with this Type K preamplifier, which probably dates from the 1960s.